Hi guys, it's Nina from VRFocus. I am here at AR and VR and a lot, joined by.
Hi, I'm Pete Blumel. I'm the CEO and studio head of the Rogue Initiative.
So tell me a little bit about what you guys have been up to and what you're doing in virtual reality.
It's been a busy year. We just shipped Crow the Drowned Armory, which also has a brand new component called Survival Arena. So it adds 2 or 3 hours of more gameplay to the story-driven prologue that we created initially. So that's all up on Oculus and Vive right now. So the team worked really hard all summer on that and finally got out the door. So we're really, really proud of everyone. It's a lot of production value. It's really fun.
So for those of you who don't know, Crow is a sort of adventure first-person shooter where you play a young man and he finds out that the world that he lives in actually has like futuristic drones and mech warriors and there's dragons and all sorts going on.
It's high fantasy and science fiction kind of combined. We're anime fans and we're geeks at heart, so we found something that we really liked and kind of found a place where we could put it all together and create a story world out of it that we're going to branch into animation and further chapters.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, and I'm super excited to hear what kind of feedback people gave for the experience.
So we initially launched it really narrowly to get some feedback on just what people were thinking about it and how they played it, and so everyone thought it was beautiful and it played fine. It was short, so we heard all that feedback and we said, you know what, we're adding a whole brand new level that lets you fight a lot more. People wanted combat, so we added a lot of combat in another mode altogether. And we have a third mode that's a little more of a meditative mode where we're showcasing new levels that you can stand around and look in without having to interact too much, but those are kind of precursors to other things we're working on. So we're kind of looking at feedback on what worlds do people like in those little passive modes that we're calling them, and then we can build more story and more interaction out of those kind of templates. So.
And there's more coming.
Yes.
Cool. What other virtual reality experiences are you working on?
We have a couple of things in AR that we can't quite talk about yet, but we're really excited about. We have a big science franchise we're working on right now that is going to be virtual reality and augmented reality on different platforms. And then we have another thing we're working directly with China on that's virtual reality based. So the guys are really, really busy. There's a lot going on. We also have a television show that we're pitching, and it's a science fiction based show. And in the show, virtual reality has a component, and we're creating a companion piece to go along with it. So we love incorporating the VR and AR anywhere we can. So that's just another place that we think it'd be really fun. It tells a story, and it's part of the story. There's context, so it makes sense.
Well, that's obviously super exciting that you're very busy. Yeah. I mean, that's a good sign, isn't it?
It is. There's no shortage of things to do, never a dull moment.
And here at VR and AR and a lot, you spoke on a panel. What did you talk about?
We talked about original content in VR, and there's so many different ways people are doing it, and some are really amazing. Like the things we're seeing here in storytelling and in really tugging at your heartstrings are amazing things that the guys at Penrose are doing, for instance. So we know they do that really well. So we have different angles. We're looking at virtual reality content on the more interactive scale, on a lot of the interaction with characters and these really bombastic spectacles that happen in front of you, and how we kind of bring you there through some storytelling that allows you to learn how to fight as well and be a part of it. So that's our kind of angle at it, all in real-time engines. So it was really fun. It was a lot of talk, technical talk, right? Creative talk, so it was fun.
What do you think about the future of VR and AR and everything that you've seen showcased here today?
Oh my gosh, it's really growing. I mean, there's a lot of, the same thing you've heard. People are still learning how to do things and kind of incorporate all the things we're learning into better and better products with more and more interaction, more and more story, more and more production value. So I see it picking up. I think AR is a great place for brands and for interactions that are outside of story, although you can tell a story in VR. I think there's places where VR is much more immersive for that. So in that regard, a lot of VR is getting, there's brands, but those are slowly becoming more into original. These studios are getting into original properties more and more and more and seeing the value in it. So hopefully it keeps happening and things keep growing so people can embrace it. But look, we're seeing big AAA, production companies and publishers getting into it right now with Fallout, for instance. So we know that people are now paying attention to it. So to me, that's a good sign.
I'd like to know how working together with a company that's in China, how they're seeing virtual reality and augmented reality, because right now we're talking about VR and right now it's still quite difficult because it's still expensive.
Right.
Obviously, Facebook recently announced that they're working on a standalone headset which will make virtual reality a lot more accessible. Mm-hmm. But there is the idea of, with the mixed reality headsets, it doesn't run the highest quality virtual reality available. What are your
Sure.
thoughts on like making VR more accessible, but in turn the quality goes down?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because there's a lot of standalone headsets. You know, they're popping up in China as well. And we're looking at them. I think there's places where you can mitigate a certain aspect of what you're doing and put on one of those headsets to keep the production value up. But you're right, like the fidelity is not going to be the same as if you're in an untethered giant experience like the Void or Nomadic VR. So for us, we actually are looking at both those things, believe it or not, and looking at our IP and realizing like what can we do in a big room, giant room scale experience, and then also something that works in a much smaller experience so that you can kind of bring people back and forth between the two. So we're experimenting. But you know, I think it needs to get in more people's hands. And I think it's definitely a step above mobile and cardboard, which we really needed to see happen, right, truly.
Yes.
So I'm excited about it. I think a lot of what this is coming around is that we can get better and better headsets, cheaper, faster. Hardware is only gonna get better, right? So we just have to wait for the price point to come down where everyone can access it. And that's gonna just take this kind of lily pad approach.
And obviously you guys are working together with some, you know, pretty high-end filmmakers who work in Hollywood. And
Right.
we are here in Hollywood.
Here we are.
And there's a lot of filmmakers walking around here today and a lot of producers. How do you see that they're kind of all picking up virtual reality and thinking,
They
how
do.
do I get there? And they're approaching you perhaps?
Yeah, there's been a lot of that actually. A lot of movie producers, even before from our days at Call of Duty, seeing the revenues and seeing the interactivity and the story that can be done in the engine and thinking, hey, how do we get into that? And so VR has only been a big catalyst for all of that. Really, you know, we've announced a project with Michael Bay, another one with Linda Opes, two very big established producers and directors in town. We have others that we're working with as well. I love coming here and meeting other people, meeting the studio heads and meeting producers, writers, directors, because we're building a slate, right, with a lot of different talent. And we know that we have to start somewhere and start fostering what that's going to look like. A lot of people, there's a learning curve, or there's a technology wall, if you will. But for those who can get over it and realize that you can give the camera to the audience and still have an amazing, compelling story out of it, if they can get past that, then they're absolutely the right partners. And we found a lot of them here, so that's
Fantastic.
awesome. Yeah, this is a great place for it.
Okay, so just two more questions.
Sure.
First one would be, if you were to give our viewers, our devs, a little golden nugget, a little piece of information about working in virtual reality and augmented reality, what would it be?
Gosh, you know, for us, our learnings are keep iterating, keep playing with the tech, and just know that there's a lot of things everyone's learning, so no one's got it all figured out. Just keep playing with it, keep figuring out what works, what doesn't work. VR is great. It's kind of like a game and a movie. There's so many similarities to both that come together in this neat Venn diagram. But I would say, you know, mitigating controls and making things very accessible and easy. Don't overwhelm the players, right, as you would a typical flat video game. At the same time, create something very compelling that makes them want to stay in. And that's you know, that easy and that hard. But it's all about playing with it and iterating.
Okay, the last one, which is a little bit tough for some people.
Okay.
If you had unlimited amount of money and an unlimited talented team, what would you create? In
You
VR
know,
and AR. Obviously, you can't have like, you know, a penthouse and a yacht and all that stuff.
gosh, you know, it's all about bringing people together, that global human, like getting everyone in a persistent world together. You know, people reference The Matrix or Ready Player One, but being in a place where you can do whatever you want, be whoever you want, and be in a social environment with all your friends and all kind of in the same level of empathy and understanding each other. So there's some game logic to it, but it's all about creating a place where we're all sort of equal. I know it sounds kind of maybe crazy and a little heady, but for me it's like,
in virtual reality.
yeah,
so-
but I would create something where everyone can play and have a meaningful experience and meaningful relationships with all kinds of other people around the world, and find a place where we're all kind of find common ground, but they can have fun there. And it doesn't have to be necessarily violent, but we can have gameplay logic and things like that, but also make it a persistent world that
Kind
people
of
can
like
go to.
maybe Old Space VR. a little
Good,
bit.
yeah, they're getting there. That's cool, right? And the more money they have, and the more they can put that together, and hopefully with the new partnership they have, they'll be making some amazing stuff. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, where do we go to find out more information about what you're doing?
So the rogueinitiative.com and experiencecrow, crow with an E.com are the two websites right now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, I appreciate
And
it.
head over to VRFocus.com if you want to find out more information about what they're up to. And if you're obviously interested in virtual reality, head over there as well.
Cool. Thanks.